We're back. And we build predictions. My name's Brock Baker.
I'm Jordan Varner.
And we are off the international break. We're back to it. We've been craving it. All in my circle, we're talking, the international break. It's over. We're past it. And we're back.
We're back. And it's match week 9, correct?
Match week 9.
Wow.
The only logical explanation to go from here. What's the score breakdown from last week? What's the score breakdown?
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. I've already forgotten.
We ended up with match week 8 being 6-6.
6-6.
What hard fought week.
Yeah.
Both got good results and ended in a draw.
Yeah.
That brings our overall scores. Brock's at 59. I'm at 54, so I still need to start chipping away at the lead. But that's going to start this week. It's going to start this week.
Start us this week, and I'll take us away with the first week. And this is a fun one.
Wow.
It's always an interesting one. Liverpool fans, they'll automatically know what I'm talking about. Liverpool at Anfield against Everton. Probably the last time we'll see it. Last time we'll see it in the Prem. But
wow. A little bit of banter to you Everton fans.
Yeah, if there is any. But no,
I know a few.
In all seriousness, it's a rivalry game, and we know very well. On paper, they seem simple, but then you get into this game, and it's emotionally charged, and
it means more to the fans.
Yeah,
it just means more to the
fans.
fans.
It's just more passion. It's more passion, and so I think this is going to be a fun one. I really just see it going one way. I think we've seen a really strong Liverpool side.
We really have.
This has been a great start to the season for them. A couple of unlucky results, refs against them, but man, they've shown a lot of heart so far. And this is the kind of game I see them going and putting their foot down on.
Yep.
And I see them taking it 3-1.
Oh man,
it just makes sense,
dude. It just makes sense. And I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, Liverpool 3-1, Liverpool 3-1, but this time I just. Who am I kidding? 3-1 to the Reds. It's simple. That brings us to this next fixture. We have Brentford versus Burnley.
Correction, Bournemouth. Bournemouth at Wolves will be the next slate on the fixture on that slate.
Oh, my fault.
I
got ahead of
It's
myself.
a skippable game. It's a skippable game.
I got ahead of myself there. So that's it. Yeah, Bournemouth versus Wolves.
All the Bs. Brighton. Bournemouth. We'll see what we're doing here. It's Bournemouth versus Wolves.
Bournemouth Wolves, kind of a snoozer.
Maybe not.
Neto is a bit of fun to watch, huh?
And I think he's got goals in him. I look at this game and I'll go ahead and predict first again.
Wow. I mean,
I'll take it from you. Yeah, base your selection off of what I say here, but I have Wolves taking this game down.
So, same. Yeah.
And I think they'll do it with the 2-goal advantage. 2-0 Wolves.
Wow.
Keep the clean sheet on the road.
Okay.
I see it happening.
I'm going to go 2-1,
Okay.
get a little bit differential, but I think Wolves will they'll get the result.
Yep. Perfect.
Now it brings us to the game.
Yeah, it brings us to the game. Brentford at home against Burnley. All these Bs, man. What's going on? But Brentford at home, Burnley. I don't have much to say.
I don't have much to say about this one either. Brentford have, at the start of the season, you were feeling really good as a Leeds fan.
Yeah.
You get a couple good results to start the season, but they have completely petered out. And they've honestly just not been the side that we thought they were going to be.
Why do you think that's happening?
No, I'm Tony.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that has to be the biggest
But it
thing.
wasn't an issue in the beginning. You think it's just like as time goes on, you need that player that can outperform his XG.
I just don't think they made the additions over the summer to first, deal with Tony's suspension,
right.
but also just we say it all the time. If you're standing still in the Premier League, you're getting worse, and I think they're an example of that so far this year. But this is a good game to come out of the international break to play Burnley.
Yeah.
So I think the Bees will get it done.
Yeah,
I think they'll get it done. I'm gonna go 2-1 to Brentford.
Okay, 2-1 Brentford. Yeah, and it's funny because it's a side that you look at, and at the beginning of the season they had one or two good results, and you're like, oh, here we go again. Yeah. Classic Brentford, don't need Tony. But then now we've seen them struggle for goals. And just basing off of that, what I know about the situation, I'm going to have 1-0 Brentford winning the game, but yeah, it just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of goals in both of these teams. But that's that. On to the next one, big one.
Big one.
Take us away.
Oh my goodness.
Set us up. Tee us up.
We got Man City against Brighton. Man City at home at the Etihad, coming off of a 2-game losing streak. They're on a 2-game losing streak.
And 2-game losing streak, not something that we're familiar with, especially with a Pep
side.
City.
There was some crazy stat. I don't remember what it was, but they hadn't lost 2 games in 2 games in a row in the Prem in 5 years or something.
I mean, that checks out.
That's an insane stat.
Yeah.
Insane stat. Can Brighton make it 3?
I mean, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, these are the kind of games, we would have even said this last week, but they obviously ran up against Arsenal.
Yeah.
So we couldn't, but they just don't string losses together. We just don't see City ever do that.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a game that they go out and win, and I think they win handily. Obviously, Stone's getting integrated back into the squad. I think he makes a big difference of how they want to play.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of game that I think sets up really nicely for City.
Yeah.
We've seen Brighton kind of be, correct me if you disagree, but they've kind of been the total possession squad. Obviously, Chelsea statistically have more possession, but we've watched Brighton be a side that's been spent a lot of time in possession, and what we're learning just with the adjustments that coaches are making is we're okay with conceding the ball.
Sometimes it's better to hit the counter and
defend the space.
Exploit a defense that's out of shape, out of position,
Yeah.
than it is to try and break down a low block.
And so I look at this game and I'm like, wow, it sets up so nicely for City, and I think they keep a clean sheet, and I think they get the result, and I have them winning this game 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah, 3-0. I think it'll be statement comeback. Yeah.
I agree with the clean sheet. I mean, I've been talking about City's defense all year long. It's just hard to ever predict a team to score on them. But I think Brighton will come into the game understanding they're not going to have as much of the ball, and it's kind of going to be that game of who's going to give
who
the other
wants
team
the ball more.
And
right.
so I think it will be 2-0 to City, and
Yeah.
so that brings us to this next one.
Yeah, this takes us out to Newcastle, a team in form.
Wow.
I think the international break came at a really bad time for them.
Yeah.
They've been stringing it, playing really good football, and a game against Palace.
Palace don't score, but they don't let anyone else score.
Yeah.
Right? I think they have the most 0-0 games this campaign so far.
That's a fun fact.
And
it's a bit vulnerable.
Yeah, it's true. But it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting just the way they're trying to play. Obviously, they lost a lot in their attack.
Yeah.
I mean, Elise's still out, I believe. I believe Eze is out as well right now.
Man. I've been there, man.
And then Zaha also leaving in the summer. It was
You're
like
right.
all of their
prowess.
all of their scoring ability is gone, and so they're just like, can we nick little results here and there? I still think they're a solidified mid-table side, but Newcastle's a hard team to come up against.
And so are you sitting here now? I want to hear this prediction because you've
Yeah.
kind of set the stage, talking a lot about Palace
100%.
not conceding goals. What's your scoreline prediction then?
I'm more so pointing to how they don't score, but I think they can be broken down by a team with the quality of Newcastle, and so I have this being 2-0 to.
And when I look at this fixture, just the passion in me, what I see, everything that I feel, it's also 2-0. So
2-0.
I want to reassure you in your pick,
Cool.
and I'm going to join you in it.
Yeah.
2-0 Newcastle. We'll
You
both
just-
pick
you
up 2 points
You
there.
just loved everything I was saying. You're like, wow, you're really knowledgeable.
Yeah, when I look at that fixture, it just looks like one. I think Newcastle are starting to find goals, and I don't think they're conceding a whole lot. So easy pick for me. Take us to the next one.
Next game.
Yeah.
This one is fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Forest versus Luton Town. Points up for grabs. Points up for grabs.
Really?
I mean, it could be.
When you
right?
look at the batch, it's points up for grabs. But this Forest side that I've seen this year is not a points up for grabs side in relation to Luton Town. I don't think so.
Luton's looking at the game and saying, this is our chance to get points.
Yeah.
Forest is looking at the game and being like, we're gonna take 3 points.
Two-time European champions, Nottingham Forest.
What, when? Before you were born? Or what?
Yeah. No, but I think we've seen a really good Forest side.
Yeah.
Luton, been a fun story. You kind of get excited of the idea of picking them. But I'm kind of curious what you think how this game will actually play out as far as
it's a hard one because like you're saying, both of these teams never have the ball. So it's one of those where you're like, which one of these teams is going to take the ball? Who's going to be in the other opposition's half? And you just I don't necessarily know because neither of these teams have players in the midfield that are just going to box.
Yeah.
And so honestly, at the end of the day, the team that wins the midfield is the team that's going to win the game.
Yeah.
And I think Forest just have they have the more experience, they have the more identity, and then they just have the ability to get goals. And so, but screw all that 1-1. 1-1. Yeah, they're both getting a point.
Wow.
That's all vibes.
It's
all vibes.
I think this is. I look at this game and it's like this is going to be a Bundesliga game.
Yeah.
Counter. So I do think there will be goals in it.
Wow.
And I think it will be 2-1 Forest. Not a ton of goals,
Forest.
nothing crazy, more than what we usually see when you look at these two sides.
Yeah.
I think it's a 2-1 game. Forest win. I don't see it being a draw. On the road for Luton Town.
Yeah.
If it's
a hard place to play.
Yeah.
It's a hard place to play.
But yeah, 2-1 Forest into the next game. Arsenal is back in action this weekend off of
in a London derby.
In a London derby, and from big game to big game.
They got Chelsea.
Buzzing, man. Buzzing. Exercising our demons. 12 games in the Prem without beating them.
Without beating City. They get the job done.
And it was just passion. It was just raw passion.
It had to be a late one.
Yeah, and it was one of those ones where, in the immediate aftermath, people saying, wow, that was a boring game. But for those of us that just love tactical ideologies and the way that coaches and they'll manipulate space, I thought it was a thriller. It was so interesting to watch.
We were having a conversation after the game, and some of our friends around us are talking about, oh my goodness, snoozer, like, okay, Arsenal won, blah, and we're sitting there being like, wow, what a tactical, just fun game to watch.
Yeah.
Like, the way, like, you hear all this about the inverted wingbacks of these two sides, like Zinchenko coming in and for them Stones coming. They do all these different things in how they overload the midfield, and in the run of the game, they weren't doing that as much because, and so it was always this constant battle of who can create a better overload in the midfield is what it came down to, and that obviously, yes, that led to less chances in the run of the game, but from a tactical standpoint, like we're talking about, it was a really fun game to watch because that was the battle. How can we make that overload in the midfield?
Yeah, and it was one of those games where moments are so important, and we saw it. It's a deflection off a defender's head, and if you're on the other side of this story, if you're a City fan sitting there, oh, this is rubbish, man. This is, but like you mentioned, just the way that the space was manipulated, the execution, and really just the passion. It was so fun to see. My team, we talked about it in the build up to the game, to be able to show up for a game like that and be composed, and have the composure and the willingness and the desire to go get the game. I could go on, but
let's get.
I have to pivot for us.
Arsenal against Chelsea. That's our talking point.
It's a rivalry game.
What do you see here in the London derby?
And all metrics considered, I think Chelsea have really underperformed. I think they have been a good side, and it's a meme. Oh, Chelsea's rubbish. They spend all this money, but the reality is, if you watch them, you can tell that there's quality there, and they're a scary side. These are the kind of games where the fringe team wants to show up. They want to go get it.
Yeah.
I still have Arsenal winning 2-1 on the road. I think it's going to be a scrapey game. Like, probably 2 goals will likely come from set pieces. I think it's going to be one of those kind of games, but that's how I have it finishing.
Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you with the 2-1. I
was hoping to pick up points
I
there.
I know. I just think that's how it's going to go. I think Chelsea will get a weird counterattack, maybe a deflection early, and then Arsenal will show you their heart and their passion and get a scrape 3 points
and
back.
It's easy when you're wearing the prettiest kit ever invented. Come on!
Are you guys seeing this? This is a proper fan. This is a proper fan when he goes and grabs whatever this is.
That's
Oh
a
man. Oh man. But that brings us to the next one.
Yep.
We got Sheffield United at home against Man United.
United versus United.
United versus United.
And that's what it's felt like all year. There is a lesson in there. Manchester United has been playing themselves all season.
Wow. And now they're playing a United
Prophetic.
who sucks.
Yeah.
Sheffield has been terrible, and getting to watch them right before the international break in a little bit more depth, I think they are worse than Luton. They are easier to get points off than Luton, than against Luton. Luton
Wow.
have some sort of identity. They have kind of a buzz around them.
Yeah.
Sheffield do nothing going forward, nothing, and they're. I don't see them doing a lot in the course of the rest of the campaign. Maybe January will help them. I don't know. But that being said, I'm going to go 3-0 United.
Wow.
3-0 United.
3-0 United. This is a perfect game for them coming off an international break.
100%.
100%. Like, they are licking their chops. I also think really favors Manchester United. I have the result finishing 3-1.
3-1. Yep.
Every time I see this Sheffield United badge, I just start seeing set pieces and headers and all these things, and I'm just like, they're good for one. They're good for one.
Okay.
So I'll just predict that.
Yeah.
They're good for one.
It's like an own goal or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes sense. Last thing before we move on, we have to talk about McTominay's brace in the dying embers of the game. Down 1-0, and they get the 3 points in just dramatic fashion. He came on in the 87th minute and got a match-winning brace.
McTominay.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I had to touch on it, but that brings us to what?
Shout out,
The game of the week.
Game of the week.
Aston Villa at home
Yeah.
against West Ham.
Yeah.
A really, really fun game here with two teams that are gunning for maybe a European places.
Yeah. I mean, these would be the teams that are rumored on the cusp. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, I wouldn't have said West Ham.
Yeah.
But looking at them now, looking at their body of work up until this point, you kind of fancy them a little bit.
And both of these teams have, they also have European football this year.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, it's a surprise they're there. But like you said, I mean, they're in Europe right now, and so they're trying to keep those places and continue to compete. So it's a really, really interesting game.
Yeah.
I think you're up in to go first this week.
My duty and my burden to make the first selection
and
here.
then I'll get it next week.
But yeah, when I look at this game, I mean, it's one of those ones. It is going to be a big game. It's a big one on the set list, and so I have it finishing 1-1. I think it's going to be a draw, and my heart is like, but Brock, what if there's a ton of goals in it? And I just don't see that being the case. I have it finishing 1-1 draw. Done and dusted. On to the next one.
And that sends it over to me. I got Villa.
Villa.
I got Villa. I've been on Villa all year long, so I'm going to go 3-1 to Villa. I think their offense is explosive, and we've seen it time and time again. And so I'm going to go 3-1 to Villa, and hopefully I pick up the 4 points there, because that's the double points game, the game of the week,
and you need it.
And that brings us to Monday Night Football, London Derby, Fulham versus Tottenham. They just I think Fulham have like 3 Monday night games in the course of a month or something. So this is one of them.
Right.
But yeah, it's a bit of fun. But yeah, Fulham versus Tottenham. Tottenham, obviously, they're on top of the table right now, which is just absolutely crazy. But they've had a great start this season. Yeah. They're playing really good football. Yeah. Ange has them playing a certain type of way. Fulham, not the greatest start, but they're not in a bad place.
It's like points-wise, they're not in a bad place, but when the eye test, they haven't passed the eye test for me. And you're a fan, so you watch more than me, but I just watch them for games like this. I could watch them against Chelsea, and they're just not up for it.
They weren't up for it. Yeah.
And so it makes you wonder, on the road, again, are they up for Tottenham? And I'm kind of curious.
And this is a really interesting one. Because, Tottenham have been great all year. But these are the type of games that, are honestly hard to predict, because you've seen Fulham at times play a certain type of way.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're pretty organized in the back. hard to break down. You can see them nicking a weird goal, right? They're sometimes just hard to predict. I mean, we saw that in the Arsenal game, and they also played probably the best. I mean, obviously they're playing Sheffield, so it's not a big deal. But they played offensively. They were dynamic for the first time of the year.
Yeah.
And so you see all that, and so it's like, oh, that's a kind of a hard game for them to be coming out of the international break. And so I will go with Spurs here.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, they're on the top of the table for a reason. They're on the top of the table for a reason. I'm going to go 2-1 to Spurs.
2-1 to Spurs, and I love the analysis and all the things that you're saying, what you're seeing, especially from a Fulham perspective. But to make a long story short, Tottenham scores goals, Fulham doesn't. Yeah. And so with that, I just kind of have to pick this game 2-0 to Tottenham at home. I think that they go get the job done and they score goals, and Fulham doesn't.
Yeah, fair enough.
That takes us into, we wanted to do it towards the end, get through the picks.
Graphics up there now.
Graphic up there. Yeah. While the graphics up there, we wanted to pose this question. We were sitting there and we were talking about, man, like, we're off the cusp of an international break. Well, if you could sit there and you could choose.
We're FM players, just so you know. Football Manager, we love it.
Can we get a code or something? A link
to be sponsored by them eventually.
Yeah. Get an affiliate link.
But we love playing Football Manager. We love this idea of what it would look like if we were coaches.
Yeah, if we were coaches.
And so coming out of the international break, we had some new coaches coming into international teams.
Yeah.
And our question is, what international team would you want to manage?
Yeah. And obviously from the analysis today, the credentials are there for both of us. For any job in the world.
I mean, you look at our FM stats and where we've brought in teams. I mean, we got to give this guy some props. He brought Stoke to be
now you're waffling. Now you're waffling. For me, this is such an easy question because not only is it a fun job, but the potential for just passion and glory, the England job, man.
And
the best.
And you have ties there too.
Loose ties there. But you look at the squad, talent all around the board, around young talent all around the board. Don't get the job done when it really matters. You look at this roster and you're like, how have they not won the Euros and the World Cup and the Euros again and the World Cup again? And you talk to England fans as well, and they're like, how are we not winning this? I would love to have that job because, man, if I could go do something special, I mean, your Baker Ball wins England the World Cup. It's brilliant.
And my mind kind of goes two different ways. One, I have a little bit of a tie to a country, right? My dad was born in Germany, so that's the first thing that comes to my mind is, we just got Nagelsmann. What if that was me, right? What if that was me inheriting this squad of a lot of talent, but have underperformed for the past 8 years, right? What if?
Yeah,
right? So that's the first place they go. Second place is you kind of think South America. You get Brazil. You get all these. You get all these.
Jogo bonito.
You get all this talent down there in Brazil. I think that could be a really, really fun. Just the style of play, right? It's fun. It's it's exciting, and so that's the other kind of the other place my mind went. And so Germany definitely. Would be a fun job. I mean, maybe it would be one of the hardest jobs in the world right now. Yeah. But I would take that. Yeah. I would take a job like that.
Throw down in the comment. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. It's great to be back waffling with you all.
Yes, sir.
And that ends us for this week.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.
Cheers.